Okay, today I'm going to be painting this little river scene and breaking up my process as I go. I'm using an iPad and Procreate, and you can see I'm already underway and the major shapes are being painted in, and this is probably the most important part of the painting because it decides basically what the painting is going to look like. The details won't really matter that much, and they're not going to significantly change things. So after this point, this is basically what the painting is going to be like, and it's only a few minutes, but it's an important few minutes. And I don't do any pre-sketching or use reference when I'm painting like this. I'm just making it up, and really what I'm trying to do is just make nice shapes, and what that means is a variation of the angles, the size, kind of the frequency. And what you'll notice, hopefully, is that for things like rocks, it's important to put them together so they're not all individual. It's quite a common mistake that I see, and one I've made myself. And so when you're drawing the rocks, draw them overlapping each other, and then when we put the highlights in, we'll separate them again. And so it's the same for everything, really. So there's not much going on in the background, but there's a bit of overlapping. And even for the highlights that I'm doing now on the river or the stream, overlapping the highlights. And so overlapping is one of the most important parts of landscape painting, and it is one of the reasons why you can create depth. Now, if you don't do overlapping, everything will look really flat, and it'll look like everything's like really close. Now in this painting I don't have too much depth because everything is fairly close, but as I work on this painting, you'll see that it'll get more depth eventually, but most of that kind of comes together at the end, so you have to be a bit patient. And so I'm making variations to the grass area, and you can see I get the color wrong and then adjust it. I do that quite a lot. I don't spend ages trying to pick the color because I know I can just adjust it, and the shape and the direction, it's more important than the color in the digital painting sense, because we can change the color quite easily. You can't really change the shape and the direction that easily. I mean, you can, but obviously it's a bit more tricky. So it's easy to adjust color. So the color is probably the least of your worries, and we can change those later. Now, if you've seen any of my paintings before, I've painted in this style quite a lot. I'm using the select color fill tool, and you notice I'm not really using any brushes. I will use brushes at some point, because the color select fill tool thing, which is great, and I use all the time. But if you're doing little shapes, it can be a little bit tricky. So I'll use the technical pen from the inking section, and you'll see me use that, and a flat brush. I think it's from the painting section. It's just a flat brush. So I'm going to use a couple of brushes, and I say all the time in my videos is the brushes are not important. They're really not. If you give somebody with a lot of experience just one brush, they'll do well, and it won't matter which brush, as long as it's not rubbish. Obviously there are some weird brushes out there, so the basic ones are fine. Don't go looking for brush packs and all that nonsense if you're a beginner. They're not going to help. Just use whatever's built in, and get used to the app itself and the basics of it. I try to use as few tools as possible in the apps, because you don't really need them. And for years I painted with acrylics and basically with one brush and a bunch of paints. So that's where I kind of came from for landscapes, which was a good experience, and it made me not worry about all these millions of tools. Now the millions of tools are there for more for like when you do graphic-y type stuff, so and they're important when you do patterns and all that kind of stuff. But for landscapes we don't really need that many tools. The adjustment tools are great for fixing colors, and and the smudge tool can be quite handy. You'll see me use that a little bit later. But anyway, I digress. Don't worry too much about the tools. It's all about the... Well, I can't really sum it up because obviously there's lots of bits to it. This is not going to be obviously a step-by-step because there's a lot to it. But I get back to the point. So one thing that I'm doing a little bit different than I usually do is for my rocks, I've put a few more colors in there. Usually I just do a dark background and then a highlight and maybe some highlights in the shadow area, but this time I thought, okay, let's add a bit more color. So if you see my rocks before, they're usually a bit more bland, I guess. So I thought I'd do something different. I try to do something different, at least one different thing in every painting, and that's how I hopefully progress and change my style a little bit and make, I wouldn't say, I was going to say making my paintings better, but that's not quite true. There's not really such thing as better or worse. It's just different. Like I said earlier, I don't really use brushes that much, but when I go really small, so I'm doing like small bits of grass, I'm using that technical pen I think I'm using. Again, I was saying, don't worry too much about the brush, just use whichever one you like. And especially in this style, we're not going realistic, so it really doesn't matter. And it's all quite small. One thing when you're painting rivers, obviously I should talk more about the river because it is the focus. Without nailing the river, you're going to be in trouble here. So there's a few things to note, and there's a mistake right next to where I'm painting now, which I'll get to later, and it really annoys me that I didn't catch it. So with any painting, especially landscapes, it's all about noticing your errors and fixing them. So generally I just try to get something down and then fix it and repeat that process over and over. So it's try something out, fix it, undo, and repeat. And so back to the river though. So there's a few things to keep in mind with the river that you need to get right every time. Is that if you think about these type of rivers anyway, they always come in downhill, or they wouldn't flow, obviously. So if you think about them as steps, it can be much easier. So this has 3 steps. So when I block it out, what I do is put rocks to the sides and to the middle of where the steps are going to go. So 2 or 3 steps is fine. Don't do too many or it will be too cluttered. Even 1 is fine, but 1, 2, 3 is fine. Don't go more than that or it'll look weird. And so if you think about the steps, one thing you got to watch out for is the sides of the river need to be dark, because the sun doesn't get into where the banks meet the water. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And another one is when you're doing the highlights, make sure they're horizontal-ish. They don't have to be perfect, but make sure they're not leaning to the side, or the water will look like it doesn't conform to gravity. And I've done that mistake myself, and it can look very strange. So make sure you got shadows on the side. Make sure the highlights are horizontal. Make sure you bring the highlights up slowly. So that means just slightly highlight it, slowly and slowly until you get to white. Now once you get to white, that has to be where the river is flowing the fastest, because all the waters, there's so much volume of water, it kind of turns white. But you got to be sparing with that. That's where it hits things or it flows down right in the middle. You can see me painting the smoothing out the middle bit there. So I'm using the smudge tool there a little bit, which I don't use much. And so watch out for that. It doesn't really have to be neat. You can see me making a bit of a mess and then smudging her out a bit. So water is kind of messy when it starts hitting things. And so there's one thing I've done as a mistake here, and it's the rock up the back to the right. I'll point it out. Is I think they call it the halo effect. I'm going to call it the halo effect anyway. And it's when, so I got in a couple of places, I'll point them out on screen, where is for some reason the rock kind of looks like it has a border, like the highlights of the water don't go around the rocks properly. So I zoomed in and there's one there. It's okay if the line's tiny, and then that just looks like style. But the one up the back has this halo effect, and it's like the highlights don't go underneath the rock, which they would. It's like, why do they stop? It's too neat and unnatural. So watch out for that. But that's a little bit subtle. So in the end, I just try to have fun with these things, and I'm trying to fix all the technical mistakes, but you're not going to get them all. Because this is just a lot going on, and I don't really care if I get them all anyway. It's just try your best to get them. So this is me choosing that technical pen I'm looking for, and I have altered the pen as well. I've copied the technical pen and I've stabilized it. So I just copy the technical pen brush and then go into the properties of it and whack the stabilization up. And because you might notice, this painting took me like 45 minutes, I think, and I've put it on 2x speed because watching real time is a bit slow, and I don't really want to talk for 40 minutes either. So I cut out bits when I'm just not doing a lot, and yeah, I've lost my point now. But anyway, so I'm finishing off the little details, and I'm kind of stylizing it now. I'm using the technical pen I'm on about, so I'm stabilized it. My point was my hands are quite shaky, so if you watch me, they shake quite a lot, so accuracy is definitely not my best bit. So hopefully you find something of use. If it is, give me a sub and like, and there we go. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.